I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and in this video I'm going to begin Chapter 3 of Ayn Rand's Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology. This chapter, Chapter 3, is titled, I think, Abstraction from Abstractions. Of all the chapters in Rand, for me personally, this is not only the most significant, but I think the most sort of applicable to what I do, and to what I would hope that those of you who watch my videos are learning to do. And I'm also trying to progress. I'm trying to get better myself, right? It's not like I've reached some end state. And the question is, well, what is that? For me, one of the most powerful tools that a philosopher can have, though there's near infinity of tools that a philosopher can have, is the ability to do what's known as meta-analysis, right? A meta-analysis. And the question is, well, what is a meta-analysis? What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to discuss Rand's meta-analysis, right? This idea of the abstraction from abstractions, though she doesn't use the term meta-analysis, is a meta-analysis. And it's the analysis of an analysis, right? Just as a quick FYI, if you've watched my videos on logical positivism, then you know what meta-analysis is, the role that meta-analysis plays in philosophy. And as I think personally, philosophy proper at its best, and this is just my interpretation, but philosophy at its best is a tool with which we perfect the art of analyzing other theories, of analyzing the assumptions, right? So that we aren't, necessarily creating theory, though philosophy is known for creating theory. But what we're doing is we're the litmus test. We're the system in philosophy, for me, at its best, is a system in which we can analyze the coherence of other arguments, other analyses, right? And what she does in this chapter, and the whole lecture, is composed of 1.5 pages of Rand, right? This entire lecture I'm about to give is the first page and a half of Chapter 3. The thing with Rand, if you go through and you blaze through and read it, and I read it cover to cover, I'm sure you read it cover to cover, but did you understand what she was saying? The preparation for this is important, and the reason why it's important, for me personally, as an academic, as a writer, I incorporate these ideas, not just her ideas, but everything that is used. For example, recently I just completed a book for Rowman and Littlefield, which will be published in first quarter, second quarter of next year. In arriving at some of the concepts that I arrived at, I implement these ideas, right? You have to analyze the world, right? And you have to abstract from what's given. And if you don't have the ability to abstract from the barrage of given, it becomes impossible for you to formulate new concepts, right? It becomes impossible for you to describe the world. So hopefully, of all the videos that I do on Rand, and this is just me personally, I hope that I'm clearest in my discussion of Chapter 3, because, personally, Chapter 3 of the 8 chapters in Rand's Objectivist Epistemology is the most important to me. And hopefully I present her information accurately. But more important than that, whether or not it's accurate, whether or not it's whatever, I hope you get the idea that we can arrive as a species at extremely abstract concepts if we begin in this world, right? If we begin with the stuff that's a given. And I think that's all she's really saying. So despite the fact that this lecture might get pretty heady, and I know it will get pretty heady, I want to sort of begin with what I call ghetto philosophy, right? Just a sort of real-world, grassroots, very accommodating account, and then we'll extrapolate and complicate. Okay. So again, this is Rand's Chapter 3. If you want to get the notes that I'm using, it's accessible to you. Click the banner that will pop up, or click the description field, the link in the description field. It'll take you to the PDF. As I go through the chapters, the PDF will get larger, so you'll need to, if you're continuing along continually go back and download the latest version of the PDF until we complete the analysis. Until I complete the analysis of Rand's Objectivist Epistemology. Okay, let's begin. So this is. And I see that this is running out of ink. BJECZ. Okay, so this is Rand's Objectivist Epistemology, and this is chapter 3.1. This is chapter 3.1 in the notes. Again, download, follow along. There's a lot that Rand discusses in chapter 3, and she goes through it quickly. I mean, every single word that she uses is important. And the relationship of the words in the sentences, in the paragraphs, they're all interconnected. And I was initially going to write, I wrote two versions of the notes. In the first version that I wrote, I didn't like the version, so I deleted it. You'll never have access to it. But the first version of the notes were just sort of concept formation in word order form, like the notes above. But I recognized that it might be difficult to follow along, so I decided to just use images. So I created a series of images and pasted them into the PDF document. And I think that it will allow us to gain access into the structure of Rand's thought. As a quick side note, for me, when I'm attempting to conceptualize some complex idea, I obviously tend to do this, draw out the relationships, and then once I see the structure as an image, then go back and just give words and chapters and so on to make sense of those relationships. That's just my little mode of writing and conceptualizing, and if it helps for you, then all more power. So what I want to do is I'm going to start with this diagram that I've embedded into the document. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up, and with each successive step explain the significance of each step, so that we have a grand understanding of this image that I've created. And the creation of this image is completely from Rand, right? This is my interpretation of what she's saying and the relationship between these different ideas and concepts. So hopefully you can follow along. So we'll start at the bottom with perceptual existence. So at the bottom, and actually I want to use a different color. At the bottom, we have perceptual existence. Okay. So at the bottom we have perceptual existence, and we should know what perceptual existence are in relationship to Rand's epistemology. She spent a lot of time, and actually let me move this aside because I want to have side. No, actually this is good. We want to know what the role perceptual existence have. So the first thing that we recognize from chapter 1 and chapter 2 is that perceptual existences are a given. It's the background noise, right? It's the continual and perpetual barrage of attributes and sense data from the objective world that are in a sense thrown continually, endlessly to my faculty of perception, right? Hence perceptual, right? It's a given. It's just everything that I see, all the background noise. In the last video on chapter 2.3, I think it was, I went through and discussed an example of an analyst attempting to differentiate the location for a shooter at an assassination attempt, right? And the barrage of background noise, all the things that are going on, the people laughing, the music playing, the glasses falling, all of that is a given. What we're attempting to do is isolate the actual thing. That background noise, that given, is perceptual existence. Something I haven't said until this point, but I need to say at this point now, is that the perceptual existence are, for Rand, objective, right? She believes that there is an objective world, and that this objective world exists independent to my existence, right? So it's not the case that if I die, everything ceases to exist, right? That would be ridiculous. She believes that the objective world, so the first thing is that, and I just want to differentiate both of these points. So we're talking about perceptual existences. Perceptual existence is a given, and it is objective. Right? It is objective, it is quantifiable, it is accessible, it is not only accessible, but accessible, right? It's accessible and accessible, right? Accessible being I can assess information, I can quantify, I can engage. Accessible, it's there to be had, right? In a sense. So that perceptual existence is the given, and it is an objective reality, and that's another key term. Right? It is an objective reality. It exists in the world, right? It's not a construct of my mind in any sense. It's the given. So we start with that.